The call came at 3:17 a.m. I've always feared middle of the night calls, those harbingers of news too terrible to wait for daylight. My trembling hand reached for the phone on the third ring, heart already racing with that primal knowledge that something was deeply, irreversibly wrong. "Grace?" My brother's voice cracked in a way I'd never heard in the 32 years since he'd enlisted in the Army. Sam didn't crack. Sam was granite. "You need to come home. Now." "What happened? Is it Mama?" "Just come. Please." The line went dead.
If you like real, shocking stories, follow the channel so you don't miss the next ones.
I'm Grace Johnson, 52 years old, a clinical social worker in Chicago, specializing in family trauma and elder abuse, the irony of which I wouldn't understand until I walked through that door. I'd built a careful, structured life, 900 miles from Atlanta, from my family, from memories I'd spent a quarter century trying to bury. But Sam doesn't make 3 a.m. phone calls unless it's life or death. I threw clothes into a bag, hands shaking so badly I could barely zip it, left a voicemail for my supervisor, locked my apartment, got in my car as the first gray light of dawn crept across Lake Michigan. The drive from Chicago to Atlanta is normally 11 hours. I made it in 10, stopping only once for gas and coffee I couldn't taste. I had no idea that when I finally stopped the car in front of 1742 Oakwood Drive in West End, the house where I'd grown up, the house my father had bought with his railroad pension in 1968, back when black families were just beginning to buy property in this historically segregated neighborhood, I was driving toward a truth that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. My mother wasn't dying of disease. She was being slowly murdered by her own children.
I pulled up to the curb just after 9 a.m., my body aching from the drive, my mind spinning with worst-case scenarios. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I'd just grown. The white paint was peeling badly, something Daddy never would have allowed. The lawn needed mowing, weeds pushing through cracks in the sidewalk. The oak tree Daddy had planted when I was born now towered over the roof, its branches reaching like arthritic fingers. And then I saw it. A bright orange notice on the front door, fluorescent and obscene against the white wood. Final notice of foreclosure proceedings. My stomach dropped. Before I could process what that meant, the door opened. Sam filled the doorway, 6'3", 240 pounds of muscle despite being 58 years old. His salt and pepper hair cut military short, his brown eyes holding something I'd never seen there before. Fear. He pulled me into a crushing embrace before I could speak. "Sam, what?" "Let me show you first." His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. Sam never cried. "Then we'll talk." He led me inside, and I immediately noticed what was wrong. The living room, once filled with our family's history, with Grandma's Victorian sofa that Mama had reupholstered 3 times, with Daddy's leather recliners and the mahogany coffee table he'd refinished by hand, was empty. Completely empty, except for a single folding chair and a TV sitting on the floor. "Where's the furniture?" I asked, though part of me already knew. "Sold. 6 months ago. James said it was to simplify things for Mama." I felt something hot and angry rise in my throat. He sold Grandma's antiques? Sam's jaw tightened. Got maybe $2,000 for pieces worth $20. Kept the money. I noticed other details as we walked through the house. Squares in the wallpaper where family photos had hung for decades. Gone. The carpet was stained and worn, pulling away from the baseboards and corners. The walls needed paint. The house that had always been Mama's pride, that she'd kept spotless and beautiful even during the hardest times, looked abandoned. "She's sleeping," Sam said quietly as we reached the kitchen. "She gets tired real easy now. Let me show you something first." He opened the refrigerator. I'd spent years working with low-income families. I'd seen poverty in its rawest forms. I'd documented neglect, abuse, starvation. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't prepared for this. The refrigerator was nearly empty. A clear plastic pack of hot dogs sat on the middle shelf, the brine inside turning cloudy. Half an onion, brown at the edges, wrapped in foil. And on the bottom shelf, a scatter of single-serve condiment packets, the kind you get free from McDonald's or Taco Bell, arranged around a half-used bottle of Heinz ketchup. All that was left of a woman who once fed the whole neighborhood. "The cabinets," Sam said quietly. He opened them. 4 packets of instant ramen noodles, 25 cents each, dented cans from the church food bank, stale crackers, a bag of rice with insect holes. Then another cabinet, cans with rust, swollen metal, no labels. "Church gives her dented ones. Safe, just ugly," Sam explained. "But these, she's getting from the dumpster behind Save-A-Lot. I followed her. She waits until closing, goes through their trash." I picked up a swollen can. Botulism waiting to happen. "I threw away a dozen last week." She pulled them back out, said, "I'll die with a full stomach instead of an empty one." From the fridge, he pulled out a styrofoam tray. "Chicken gizzards in hearts. Mr. Martinez gives her these every Wednesday, says they're for her cat. She hasn't had a cat in 5 years." Finally, the hot dogs. 99 cents a package. 800 milligrams of sodium each, I said automatically. She eats 3 a day, double the safe limit for her blood pressure. And the nitrites linked to colon cancer. She knows, I told her. She said she'd rather die of cancer in 5 years than starve in 5 weeks. Sam handed me a small floral notebook, Mama's food diary. I scanned recent entries: ramen, gizzards, hot dogs, skipped meals, 2 week, dizzy, went to bed early. 7 days, maybe 3,000 calories total. Earlier entries told the story. As money flowed to my siblings, food disappeared. Meals got smaller. Handwriting got shakier. Today's entry was 1 line. "Grace is coming. Thank you, Jesus." How bad is she physically? Lost 43 pounds in 18 months. Weighs 98 pounds now. A BMI of 16.8. Clinical starvation starts at 17. I knew those numbers. I'd used them in court to remove children from homes. Now they described my mother. "Show me the bank statements," I said. Sam pulled a thick folder from a drawer. Methodical, military neatness. Everything labeled, everything damning. He said, "I've been tracking this for 3 weeks." He spread the papers across the kitchen table. Bank statements, transfer receipts, annotated spreadsheets in his precise handwriting. Account, Dorothy Mae Johnson. Bank, First National Bank of Georgia. Current balance, $23.47. That number hit like a punch to the chest. Sam slid over the first statement. "Start here. 3 years ago, October 2022, right after Daddy died." I read the entries aloud. October 1st, 2022. Pension deposit, $2,847. Then, like clockwork, October 3rd, transfer to James Johnson Jr., $750. October 5th, Sarah, $600. October 7th, Marcus, $550. October 10th, Patricia, $650. October 12th, David, $400. October 15th, Esther, $350. I frowned. She gets $28.47 a month? These add up to over $3,300. She's giving away more than she receives.
Overdraft protection, Sam said bitterly. And those are just the regular transfers. I kept reading, scattered emergencies. October 18th, James again, $850 for medical. October 22nd, Sarah, $420 for car repair. October 25th, Marcus, $1,200 for eviction help. By month's end, minus $243, plus a $35 overdraft fee. She ended the first month in the negative? And it never stopped. Sam handed me statement after statement, 36 months of the same bleeding pattern. He'd already totaled it. Total pension received, $102,492. Money given away, regular plus emergencies, $92,247. Overdraft and fees, $2,184. Remaining for herself, about $291 per month. Less than $10 a day, I whispered. Sam nodded grimly. But she still has bills. Property tax, $180. Utilities, $150. Phone, $45. Insurance, $95. That's $470 fixed every month. The math was brutal. After bills, she had nothing. Negative $180 for food, medicine, clothes, for living. The foreclosure notice, I said quietly. Sam's jaw tightened. Daddy paid off this house in 2010, owned it free and clear. But 18 months ago, James convinced Mama to sign a home equity line of credit, $50,000, using the house as collateral. He used the house? He called it a family investment, promised it would pay back double, got her to sign right here at this table, said he'd handle payments. The $50,000 vanished, gambling most likely. She didn't even realize what she had signed until the letters came. And she's been trying to make the payments? $637 a month, out of $291 total income. She's 4 months behind. That's the foreclosure notice you saw. The auction is scheduled for November 15th, 3 weeks from now, unless we pay $4,800 in back payments. She loses the house Daddy spent 47 years buying. Rage rose in my chest like fire. Sam, I said, my voice trembling, in my professional opinion, this is severe elder financial abuse, neglect, criminal exploitation. He met my eyes, voice like gravel. In my personal opinion, our brothers and sisters are killing our mother. Silence hung heavy between us. Then, a sound from the doorway. We both turned. Mama stood there, one hand gripping the doorframe, her body so thin her nightgown hung like a curtain. Her eyes found mine, hollow, tired, apologetic. She looked like the shadow of the woman who raised me. Grace? Her voice was small and certain. You came? I was across the room in 3 steps, catching her as her legs gave out. She weighed nothing. I could feel every bone through thin fabric. Hi, Mama. Yeah, I came. Sam helped me guide her to her bedroom. He lifted her like she weighed nothing and carried her upstairs. Her bedroom broke my heart again. The bed she'd shared with Daddy for 60 years sagged dangerously, needing replacement for years. The cherrywood dresser was gone. The rocking chair was gone. The hope chest was gone. All sold by James to simplify. What remained? The bed, one folding chair, a small TV on an overturned crate. Sam laid her gently on the bed. I sat on the edge, taking her hand. Her hands that had sewn clothes for 9 children, picked peaches until they bled, braided my hair every Sunday, held Daddy's hand for 60 years. Now, skeletal, translucent skin over prominent bones, veins like blue rivers, brittle nails, trembling weakness, the hands of someone dying.
Mama, why didn't you call me? She looked away, shame flooding her face. Didn't want to bother you, baby. You got your own life. Mama, and it's not that bad. I'm just on a diet. Doctor said I should lose weight. A transparent lie that hurt to hear. Mama, I saw the refrigerator, the dumpster cans, your food diary. Her eyes filled with tears. I saw the bank statements, all of them, 3 years, every transfer, every dollar you gave to James, Sarah, Marcus, Patricia, David, and Esther while you ate expired food and hot dogs giving you cancer. An expired food that could kill you while you lost 43 pounds. While Mr. Martinez gave you gizzards he pretended were for a cat you don't have. She sobbed quietly. They don't see you as their mother anymore, Mama. They see you as an ATM. That's not true. When's the last time James visited without asking for money? Silence. When's the last time Sarah called just to say, I love you? More silence.
When's the last time Marcus brought you groceries? She closed her eyes. I can't remember, she finally whispered. I pulled out the hot dog package. Mama, look at this. Each hot dog has 800 milligrams of sodium. You eat 3 daily. That's 2,400 milligrams. Your limit is 1,500. You're consuming 160% of what's safe. I didn't know. And sodium nitrite, it converts to nitrosamines in your body. The WHO classifies it as a probable carcinogen. Regular consumption increases colorectal cancer risk by 18% in adults over 65. Her hand went to her stomach. Every hot dog you eat is shortening your life, Mama. You're choosing between starving now or dying of cancer later. That's the choice they forced you to make. She broke down completely. I held her. This tiny woman who had been my rock, my strength, my hero. She felt like a bird in my arms. I don't know how to stop, she cried. Every time James calls, he sounds desperate. When Sarah cries about grandkids, when Marcus promises this time is different, how do I say no? You don't have to, because I'm going to say it for you. She pulled back, fear in her eyes. Grace, no! They'll be angry. They'll hate me. Then let them hate you alive, Mama. Because right now, they're loving you to death. But what if they stop talking to me? What if I lose my children? I held her face in my hands. Mama, answer honestly. Are you happy right now? Starving? Eating poisoned food? Living in fear of every phone call? Hiding because you're ashamed you can't afford food? Are you happy? Tears streamed faster. No, baby. I'm so tired. So tired. Then let us take care of you. The way you took care of us our whole lives. It's our turn now. Mine and Sam's. Our turn to protect you. She looked past me to Sam, standing quiet in the doorway. Sam, you agree? Yes, ma'am. With every fiber of my being. She looked between us for a long moment, then nodded. Barely perceptible. What do I need to do? Relief flooded through me. First, Sam's gonna buy real food. Chicken, vegetables, bread, milk, fruit. Everything you need. I can't afford! We can. I can. This is on me and Sam now. And then what? I exchanged a look with Sam. Then we see a lawyer. Get you legal protection. And then I took a deep breath. Then we cut them off. All of them. Completely. Fear flashed in Mama's eyes, but underneath, hope. Sam had returned from Kroger with $200 worth of groceries, more food than had been in this house in over a year. We'd made Mama a real meal, baked chicken breast, steamed broccoli, brown rice, milk. She'd eaten slowly, stomach no longer used to real food, but she'd eaten and cried while doing it. "I forgot what real chicken tasted like," she'd said. Now she was resting, actual sleep, not collapse, and Sam and I sat planning. Thomas Bennett, friend from my unit, retired Army JAG, practices elder law in Atlanta, specializes in financial abuse. Can you call him? Already did, during your time with Mama. He can see us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. What do we need legally? Sam pulled out notes. First, power of attorney, financial and medical. Mama signs authority to you or me. Second, close her accounts, open new ones where only we have access. Third, transfer house deed to your name. If James owes money to dangerous people, that house is collateral. How dangerous? Thomas said James's loan shark, Richard Harlow, is connected to organized crime in Atlanta. If James can't pay, they'll come for assets. Mama's house is worth $480,000. That's the biggest asset. My blood ran cold. 6 months ago, James owed Harlow $73,000. Now it's $31,000. That missing $42,000 came from Mama's pension. She doesn't even know. She thinks she's helping with medical bills. We sat in silence, the weight of it crushing. Tomorrow we see Thomas, get the legal documents, then we cut them off. They'll fight. Let them. I looked at my brother, this man who'd served his country for 3 decades, who'd seen combat, who'd seen death. Why are you different from them, Sam? Why didn't you become like James or Marcus? He was quiet for a long moment. Army taught me you don't survive depending on rescue. You survive by becoming strong. And I saw what dependency does. Soldiers who never learn to stand alone, how they crumble when support is removed, and how those who learn to stand alone, they don't stay alone long. They build something real. You think Mama's strong enough? Not yet, but she will be, because we'll be with her while she learns. I nodded, decision solidifying. Then we do this. Together. Together. Neither of us knew how difficult this battle would become, or how close we'd come to losing everything. That night, as I lay in my childhood bedroom, now empty except for a mattress on the floor, I couldn't sleep. Downstairs, I heard Sam moving around, keeping watch like he'd done in combat zones. My phone buzzed, text from unknown number. Back off, Grace, or everyone learns about Chicago, about what you did 25 years ago, JJ. My blood ran cold. James knew my secret, the one thing I'd never told Mama, the reason I really ran away. What I didn't know then was that sharing that secret would become my greatest weapon, because you can't be blackmailed with a truth you've already told. And in 48 hours, when James and his corrupt lawyer showed up with a court order for psychiatric evaluation, I'd be ready. We all would. I woke at dawn to find Sam already awake, sitting in that single folding chair, holding something in his hands, a leather-bound journal, worn and cracked with age. "What's that?" I asked, my voice still rough from sleep. "Daddy's journal. Found it 2 weeks ago in his workshop, hidden behind a loose board. He didn't want anyone finding it while he was alive." He handed it to me carefully, like it was fragile or dangerous. The cover was embossed with Daddy's initials, JSJ, James Samuel Johnson. I opened it, recognizing his handwriting immediately, that careful, deliberate script he'd learned in segregated schools back when being able to write well was an act of defiance. The journal went back years, notes about work,
about the railroad, about union meetings, about money troubles and small victories. But Sam had bookmarked one page near the end, the last entry, dated 3 days before Daddy died. I read it aloud, needing to hear the words in the quiet house. October 19th, 2022. Dorothy, if you're reading this, I'm gone. There are things I need you to know. Things I didn't have the courage to say while I was alive because I know how you are with our children. That fierce love of yours has always been your greatest strength and your most dangerous weakness. Our children are adults now. Adults. James Jr. is 68 years old. Sarah is 66. They're older than we were when we had our 9th baby. And yet you still treat them like helpless children who can't survive without you. But Dorothy, they can survive. They choose not to. James Jr. will never stop asking as long as you keep giving. I've watched him for years now. The lies getting bigger, the desperation growing. He's in trouble, Dorothy. Real trouble. The kind that gets people hurt. And he'll drag you down with him if you let him. Sarah will never stop screaming and crying. It's theater. She knows exactly which buttons to push. Marcus will never promise this time is different. It won't be. It never is. Patricia will never open that restaurant. She's afraid of success as much as failure. David will stay bitter until he decides to let go of that bitterness himself. Esther will keep pretending everything is perfect while her world crumbles. And Ruth, poor Ruth, so lost, so afraid. She needs help, not money. You're not their bank, Dorothy. You're their mother. There's a difference. Mothers teach. Banks enable dependency. I've tried to protect you by keeping separate accounts, by handling the finances myself. But I know the moment I'm gone, they'll come for you like vultures. They already do, and I'm still here to say no. Promise me you'll say no, too. Promise me you'll live your life, not sacrifice it for theirs. There's something else. Something I need to tell someone, even if it's just this journal. Last week, James Jr. came to me asking for $50,000. $50,000. Said he owed it to business associates. I refused. He got angrier than I've ever seen him. Started shouting about how I owed him, how I'd failed him as a father, how it was my fault he was in this situation. Dorothy, I've never been afraid of our son before, but that day, I was. If something happens to me, if I fall, if I have an accident, if I die unexpectedly, please ask questions. Don't just accept what you're told. James Jr. knows where I keep the money. He knows about the accounts. He knows about the house being paid off. He knows everything. And I think he's desperate enough to do something about it. I pray I'm wrong. I pray this is just an old man's paranoid worry, but if I'm not, Dorothy, protect yourself. Protect the house. Protect what I've spent 47 years building for us. I love you more than words can say. You've been my everything for 60 years. But please, my love, don't destroy yourself trying to save people who don't want to be saved. Your husband, James.
My hands were shaking by the time I finished reading. Sam, I said quietly, this is dated October 19th. When did Daddy die? October 22nd, 3 days later. And the official story? Sam pulled out a folded document, a police report. Accidental fall, down the basement stairs. Died instantly from head trauma caused by impact with concrete floor. James Jr. was with him at the time. Said they were going down to check the furnace. It had been making noise. Daddy lost his balance at the top of the stairs, fell. James called 911 immediately. Paramedics arrived within 7 minutes. Daddy was already gone. I read through the report carefully. Everything seemed straightforward. Witness statement from James Jr., no signs of foul play. Medical examiner ruled it accidental death. Closed case. But Daddy's journal changed everything. James wanted $50,000. 3 days later, Daddy is dead. And within a week, James has full access to Mama's accounts. How did he get access so fast? I asked. Sam's expression darkened. At the funeral, Mama was in shock, barely functioning. James pulled her aside. I saw it happen, said he needed to help with financial matters, since Daddy had always handled the money. Took her to the bank the next day and had them add him as an authorized co-signer on her checking account. Told her it was just in case of emergencies. She was grieving, not thinking clearly. She signed the papers. So he had legal joint access? Full authority. Then he got her online banking login, debit card PIN, used her computer to set up automatic reoccurring transfers through the bank's online system, scheduled them to go out the same day every month. She didn't even know they were happening until months later when she couldn't understand why she had no money left. I felt sick. He weaponized her grief. Exactly. And 6 months after that, he convinced her to take a $50,000 home equity loan on the house, which he said was for family investments, which actually went to pay gambling debts to Richard Harlow. The implications hung in the air between us. Do you think... I couldn't finish the sentence. I don't know. Maybe it really was an accident. Maybe James didn't push him. Maybe Daddy just fell. But there's a discrepancy. The police report says James called 911 immediately. That's what James told them. But Mrs. Chen next door, she told me something different. He pulled out a small notebook with his own handwritten notes. I interviewed her last week. She said she heard shouting from our basement around 2:15 p.m., loud voices, 2 men arguing. Then she heard a crash, something heavy falling. Then silence. When did she hear the call for help? That's the thing. She didn't hear anyone call for help, but she remembers emergency sirens arriving at 2:20. She was watching her soap opera, The Young and the Restless, and the sirens interrupted it. She checked her clock because she was annoyed. 2:20, exactly. 5 minutes between the fall and the 911 call. 5 minutes of silence. Now, maybe James was in shock. Maybe he froze. That happens. But Grace, Mrs. Chen said she heard him moving around down there. Footsteps. Not running, not panicked, just walking. I felt cold. So we have 2 versions. The official version, James called immediately, everything was done properly, and Mrs. Chen's version, 5 minutes passed, no panic, just movement. Exactly. It's a contradiction. We can't prove which version is true. But combined with Daddy's journal, with the $50,000, with how fast James got access to Mama's accounts, it creates reasonable suspicion. Not enough for police to reopen the case, but enough for us to know we're not dealing with a grieving son who made mistakes. We're dealing with someone who's calculated, someone who's dangerous. I sat back, my social worker brain trying to separate emotion from evidence. We can't prove anything. Even if James pushed him, and we don't know that he did, there's no evidence, no witnesses except James himself. It would be our word against his. I know, but Grace, we need to know what we're dealing with. If James is capable of letting his own father die to get access to money, what else is he capable of? I thought about the threatening text I'd received last night, about James knowing my secret from 25 years ago. He's capable of a lot, I said quietly. Sam nodded, jaw tight. Which is why we need a lawyer, someone who knows how to protect Mama legally, someone who understands what we're up against. I looked at the journal in my hands, Daddy's last warning, his final attempt to protect Mama from beyond the grave. Thomas Bennett. We see him today. We tell him everything, and then we make sure James never gets another penny from Mama. And if he tries to stop us? I thought about Mama, 98 pounds, eating hot dogs from dumpsters, while James bought his way out of gambling debts with her pension. Then we stop him first.
Thomas Bennett's office wasn't what I expected. No mahogany desk, no wall of intimidating law books, no leather chair is designed to make you feel small. Instead, it felt like a living room, comfortable chairs, family photos mixed with military commendations on the walls, a coffee maker in the corner with the smell of fresh brew. A black man in his early 60s stood to greet us, salt and pepper hair cut military short like Sam's, wearing khakis and a button-down shirt rather than a suit. When he shook my hand, his grip was firm but warm. Grace, Sam's told me a lot about you. I'm Thomas Bennett. He gestured to the chairs. Please sit. Coffee. Thank you, I said, accepting a cup. The normalcy of it, the simple gesture of hospitality steadied my nerves. Thomas sat across from us, pulling out a yellow legal pad already covered with notes. Sam briefed me on the phone this morning. Your mother, Dorothy, 85 years old, has been financially exploited by multiple family members over 3 years, approximately $92,000 transferred out. She's malnourished, facing foreclosure, and you suspect your oldest brother may have been involved in your father's death. That about cover it? The clinical summary of our family's devastation somehow made it more real. Yes, that covers it, I said. Thomas nodded, his expression shifting to something harder. I've handled over 200 elder financial abuse cases in the past decade. Most of them look exactly like this. Family members, usually adult children, systematically draining an elderly parent while that parent slowly dies from neglect. You're doing the right thing by acting now. What can we do legally, and how fast? Fast. Today, if your mother's willing. He flipped to a clean page. First, power of attorney, both financial and medical. Your mother designates you, or Sam, or both of you as your legal representatives. This gives you authority to manage her money, pay her bills, make medical decisions if she's incapacitated. Will my brothers be able to challenge it? They can try, but if we have a doctor evaluate your mother today, which I can arrange, and that doctor certifies she's mentally competent to make this decision, it becomes very difficult to overturn. We document everything, get it notarized, file it properly. Sam leaned forward. What about the bank accounts? James has joint access. We close them. Today, open new accounts at a different bank. Wells Fargo on Peachtree is familiar with these situations. Your mother's pension gets redirected to the new account. James wakes up tomorrow and his automatic transfers fail. He's going to be furious, I said quietly. Let him. He'll threaten, manipulate, might even sue. But if we do this right, he has no legal standing. He paused. There's something else. The house. The foreclosure, Sam said. Worse. Sam mentioned your brother owes money to Richard Harlow. The name hung in the air like a threat. I know Harlow, Thomas continued, voice dropping. He's not just a loan shark. He's connected, organized crime, money laundering, extortion, operates out of a consulting firm in Buckhead, but everyone knows what he really does. If your brother owes him money and can't pay, he'll come after assets, I finished. The house. Exactly. Your mother's house is worth $480,000. That's the kind of collateral Harlow loves. With that home equity loan your brother manipulated her into signing, the house is already leveraged. If James defaults, Harlow could pressure the bank to accelerate foreclosure, buy it at auction for pennies. My stomach turned. So Mama could lose the house even though James is the one who owes. Yes, unless we move the house out of her name, transfer the deed to you, make it untouchable. Is that legal? It's called asset protection, completely legal for legitimate reasons, and your mother being elderly, vulnerable, exploited is textbook legitimate. We file a quitclaim deed transferring property to you as her caretaker. Anyone challenges it, we have medical evaluation, bank records, documentation of abuse. I looked at Sam. He nodded. Do it, I said. All of it. Power of attorney, new accounts, deed transfer, whatever protects her. Thomas made notes. I'll prepare documents now, ready in 2 hours, but understand what you're starting. Your siblings will fight back. They'll accuse you of manipulation, elder abuse, stealing, especially James. He's desperate, dangerous, and about to lose his primary income source. What can he do? I asked. File for guardianship. Claim your mother isn't mentally competent, that you're taking advantage. If he gets the right judge, the right lawyer, Thomas paused. He could try to get legal control of your mother and all her assets. That's insane, Sam said. He's the one robbing her. Doesn't matter. In guardianship cases, whoever files first often has advantage. They control the narrative. Thomas looked serious. Which is why we moved today. File POA, get medical evaluation, transfer accounts and deed, all before James knows what's happening. Once it's done and documented, he's playing defense. How long do we have? Best guess, when his transfer fails tomorrow morning, he'll know. He'll call your mother, try to manipulate her. When that doesn't work, he'll escalate. Give him 3 days to find a lawyer and file something. We need to be untouchable by then. Then let's get started, I said. Thomas smiled, a warrior smile. Sam said you were tough. Now I see it. He stood. 2 hours. And Grace, one more thing. What? The 911 call logs. The discrepancy about when your father's accident was reported. I have a contact in the medical examiner's office. If you want me to look into that quietly. We exchanged a glance with Sam. Do it, I said. If James is capable of letting our father die for money, we need to know. Thomas nodded grimly. I'll make the call.
By 4 p.m., we were back home with a folder full of documents. Thomas had worked fast. Power of attorney forms, new bank account applications, quitclaim deed, medical evaluation appointment scheduled for tomorrow morning with Dr. William Chen, Mama's longtime physician. Mama sat at the kitchen table, the same table where she'd fed 9 children for decades, where she'd signed away her house to James 6 months ago without understanding what she was doing. This time would be different. Mama, I said gently, sitting beside her, these documents give Sam and me legal authority to manage your money and make medical decisions if you need help. It protects you. It protects the house. It stops James and the others from taking any more. Her hands trembled as she looked at the papers. They're going to be so angry with me. They're going to be angry with us, Sam corrected. Not you. We're taking the blame. We're taking the fight. You just have to trust us. She looked between us, her youngest daughter who'd stayed away for 25 years and her 6th son who'd served his country instead of draining her dry. Your father wanted this, didn't he, in that journal? Yes, I said. He wanted you to live, not just survive. She picked up the pen. Her signature was shaky but deliberate. Dorothy Mae Johnson. On the power of attorney, on the bank forms, on the quitclaim deed transferring her house to me. When she finished, she looked exhausted but somehow lighter. It's done? She asked. Almost, Sam said. Tomorrow morning, Dr. Chen evaluates you, confirms you're mentally competent.
Then it's filed and official. And then? And then we tell them, I said. Mama closed her eyes. Lord, give me strength.
That evening, after Mama had gone to bed, there was a soft knock at the door. Sam and I exchanged glances. It was almost 10 p.m. I opened the door to find Ruth standing there, my 56-year-old sister, looking haunted in the porch light. She was holding something, an old notebook. "Ruth, what are you doing here?" "I need to tell you something," she whispered. "Something I should have told someone 3 years ago." We let her in. She sat on the folding chair, clutching the notebook like a lifeline. "The day Daddy died," Ruth said, her voice shaking, "I was here. I came to visit. I heard them arguing, James and Daddy, in the basement." My heart stopped. I was in the hallway upstairs. Their voices were so loud. James was shouting about needing money, about people threatening him. Daddy was yelling back that he'd given enough, that James needed to fix his own problems. "Ruth," Sam said carefully, "what did you hear next?" "Shouting, pushing sounds. Then Daddy fell. I heard it, that terrible sound." Tears streamed down her face. And then silence. For so long. I was terrified. I hid in the bathroom. I heard James moving around down there, slow, not panicked, just walking. And then finally, I heard him on the phone calling 911. "How long?" I asked. "How long between the fall and the call?" "I don't know exactly, but it felt like forever. At least 5 minutes, maybe more." Sam and I exchanged looks. Mrs. Chen had been right. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I asked, trying to keep judgment out of my voice. "Because I'm a coward," Ruth sobbed. "I was terrified James would hurt me too, terrified of destroying the family, terrified of everything. I've been terrified my whole life, and I've been living with this guilt for 3 years, and I can't anymore." I knelt beside her chair, taking her hands. "Ruth, you're telling us now. That takes courage." "Is it enough? Can you do something with this?" Sam spoke up. "We're seeing a lawyer, Thomas Bennett. He's looking into the 911 records. If your testimony combined with Mrs. Chen's and the call logs show James waited—" "It won't bring Daddy back," Ruth whispered. "But maybe it'll stop James from hurting anyone else." She handed me the notebook. "This is my journal from that day. I wrote it all down that night because I was so scared I'd forget or convince myself it didn't happen. It's all there. Times, what I heard, everything." I opened it, her handwriting shaky and desperate. October 22nd, 2022, 2:10 p.m. Arrived at parents' house. 2:15, heard shouting from the basement. James and Daddy fighting about money. 2:17, heard crash, something falling. Daddy? 2:18 to 2:22, silence. Footsteps, no calling for help. 2:23, heard James on phone. My father fell. Send an ambulance. Why did he wait? Contemporary documentation, written the same day. This was evidence. "Ruth," I said carefully, "would you be willing to give this to Thomas? Maybe talk to him?" She nodded, looking terrified but determined. "If it helps Mama, if it stops James, yes." After Ruth left, Sam and I sat in the dark living room. "Tomorrow," he said, "when those transfers fail, this all becomes real. I know. James is going to come at us with everything. Let him. I thought about Daddy's journal, Ruth's testimony, Mrs. Chen's account, the 911 logs we'd subpoena. We have truth on our sign, and we have each other. And we have Mama, Sam added. Finally, we have her permission to fight. I looked at the folder of documents on the coffee table. Tomorrow, Dr. Chen would evaluate Mama. Tomorrow, we'd file everything. Tomorrow, the first automatic transfer would fail. Tomorrow, the war would begin. But tonight, for the first time in 3 years, Mama was sleeping in a house that was safe, in a house that was hers again, in a house where people loved her without wanting something in return.
The first transfer failed at 9:07 a.m. I watched it happen on my laptop, the system trying to pull $750 from an account that no longer existed. Transfer failed, account closed. My phone rang 30 seconds later. James Jr. I put it on speaker. Grace, what did you do to Mama's account? Mama made changes to protect herself. Bullshit. My transfer bounced. The one for my medical expenses. James, Mama's been living on $300 a month while giving you $9,000 a year. That's over. Silence. Then his voice dropped to something dangerous. You have no idea what you just did, little sister. There are people involved, complications. If those transfers don't go through, that's your problem, not Mama's. You just put her in real danger from people you don't want to meet. Are you threatening Mama? Sam took the phone. His voice was quiet but carried military authority. James, it's Sam. If you come near Mama, if you threaten her, you deal with me. Clear? Long silence. You'll both regret this. The line went dead. Sarah called at 9:34 a.m., screaming so loud I held the phone away. What did you do? My transfer didn't go through. Sarah, you get an $1,800 pension. You can buy your own groceries. That's for my bills. Mama's money was for what? For you to take while she starves? She offered. I have a right. You have no rights to Mama's money. It's over. You bitch. You think you can destroy this family? I'm stopping you from destroying Mama. When I see you. I hung up. Sam raised an eyebrow. She'll make a scene somewhere public. I know. Soon. Marcus called at 10:15 a.m., voice smooth and reasonable. Grace, sweetheart, there must be some mistake. Mama and I have an agreement. I'm working on a real estate investment. She's a partner. Marcus, Mama weighs 98 pounds. She doesn't have a future to invest in if she starves. That's dramatic. I've always paid her back. Name one time. Silence. You've taken $19,800 in 3 years. Where's the business? These things take time. Stop. I've heard this pitch my whole life. The answer is no. His charm evaporated. Fine. But when you need family, don't come crying to us. He hung up.
Patricia called, sobbing. Grace, please, I'm so close to opening the restaurant. Patricia, there is no restaurant. You're afraid of failing. I'll help you with therapy, with confidence, but not with money you're taking from our starving mother. She hung up without another word. David and Esther called later that day. More accusations, more bitterness, more threats. I gave them the same answer. No. Only Ruth didn't call. She arrived at 6 p.m. carrying groceries. I thought Mama might need these, she said quietly. I hugged my sister. Thank you, Ruth. The others are angry. James tried to talk to you. I told him I was choosing Mama. That night, Mama asked about the calls. Did they say terrible things about me? No, Mama, about me, which is fine. I feel like I should call them, explain. No, Sam and I said simultaneously. That's what they want. They want you to feel guilty enough to give in, but you can't. What if they never forgive me? Then they never really loved you. They loved what you could give them. She nodded, tears in her eyes, but something in her posture looked stronger, like maybe she was starting to believe me.
I should have known Sarah would choose Kroger on Saturday afternoon, maximum witnesses. Mama and I were in the dairy aisle, her cart actually full for the first time in years. Real food, chicken, vegetables, milk, eggs. She kept touching items like she couldn't believe they were real. Grace, baby, this is too much. It's not, Mama. This is normal. This is what you should have been eating all along. That's when I heard it, the voice I'd been expecting. Mom! Oh, thank God I found you. Sarah appeared at the end of the aisle like she'd been waiting, which she probably had been. She was dressed for performance, Sunday clothes, hair done, makeup perfect, but arranged to look like she'd been crying. She rushed toward Mama with arms outstretched. Mom, I've been so worried. You haven't answered my calls. Her voice was loud. Heads turned throughout the store. Sarah, honey, Mama started, uncomfortable. I've been trying to reach you for days, ever since, Sarah's voice broke dramatically. She turned to me, and her face transformed into pure venom. Ever since she came back. More people stopped shopping to watch. Sarah, I said quietly, this isn't the place. Isn't the place? Her voice rose to a shriek. To talk about how you stole our mother's money? How you manipulated her into cutting off her own children? A woman with a toddler backed away. An elderly couple stopped their cart, watching. I never said Sarah couldn't visit, I said. The money transfers had to stop. Money? Sarah spun to face the growing audience. My own sister, who abandoned this family 25 years ago, comes back and immediately starts talking about money. While my mother barely has enough to survive, the irony would have been funny if it wasn't so calculated. Sarah, I kept my voice level, Mama was barely surviving because she was giving you $600 a month, $21,600 over 3 years, while she ate expired food from the church and lost 40 pounds. Sarah's eyes flashed. I'd broken script, but she recovered. That's a lie. Mom, tell her that's a lie. All eyes on Mama. I could see her hands shaking. This was the moment. Either she held firm or we lost everything. Sarah, Mama said quietly, and I heard steel in her voice I hadn't heard in years. Grace is telling the truth. Sarah's face went slack with shock. I gave you $600 every month, Mama continued, voice growing stronger, and your brothers and your sisters, and I didn't have enough left to eat. Grace came home and found me weighing 98 pounds. That's the truth. The elderly couple was now openly staring at Sarah with disapproval. Sarah's mask slipped, showing the rage underneath. You're choosing her over your own daughter? I'm choosing me, Mama said. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. Sarah's mouth opened and closed. Then she played her final card. She fell to her knees in the middle of the dairy aisle. Please, Mom, please, I'm begging you. My family is starving. My grandchildren. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and held it out to her. Sarah, I just Venmo'd you $50 from my account, not Mama's. That's for your grandchildren's school supplies, but that's all you're getting. Not from me and not from Mama. Sarah stared at the phone, then at me,
then at the small crowd watching. She stood slowly, dignity shredded. "You're going to regret this, all of you." She looked at the onlookers. "You see, this is what families become, cold, heartless." She stormed out. The elderly black woman approached Mama. "Honey, I know you from church. West End Baptist, right?" "Yes, ma'am," Mama said quietly. "I watched what your children been doing for years, taking and taking. You did right. You did exactly right." She squeezed Mama's hand. "Don't you let them make you feel guilty for surviving." Mama's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." As we checked out, Mama was quiet. In the car, she finally spoke. "That was hard." "I know. But I didn't give in." "No, you didn't. I'm proud of you." She smiled, small but real. "I'm proud of me, too."
That evening, the house was quiet again. Mama was resting, Sam was in the living room, and for a moment I thought maybe we'd earn some peace. Then the doorbell rang. Marcus and Patricia stood on the porch, Marcus holding flowers, Patricia carrying Tupperware containers of food. "Surprise!" Patricia's smile was bright. "We thought we'd bring dinner." I exchanged a glance with Sam, who'd positioned himself behind the door. "Come in," I said carefully. They entered like nothing had happened. Marcus kissed Mama's cheek. Patricia unpacked containers, roast beef, mac and cheese, collard greens, peach cobbler. "I made all your favorites, Mama," Patricia said. We sat at the table. The food was incredible, as always. Patricia was a gifted cook. Small talk lasted through the meal. Weather, church gossip, nothing about money. Then over dessert, Marcus made his move. "So, Mom," his voice was casual, "how are you feeling about everything, the changes?" "I'm adjusting," Mama said carefully. "It must be stressful," Patricia added. "All these legal documents, new accounts, decisions. Grace and Sam meaning well, but it's a lot for someone your age." There it was, the setup. "Grace has been very helpful," Mama said. Of course, Marcus smiled. "But Mom, you know you have options, right? If you ever feel pressured or confused or like maybe decisions are being made for you instead of by you." Sam's jaw tightened. "Nobody's making decisions for Mama," I said evenly. "She signed the power of attorney because she wanted to." "With a doctor present," I heard. Patricia's tone was sympathetic. "That must have felt intimidating." It felt safe. Dr. Chin has been my doctor for 15 years. He asked me questions. I answered them. I knew what I was doing. Marcus shifted tactics. "Mom, I've been thinking maybe you should talk to a different lawyer, get a second opinion, just to make sure everything's fair." "Fair to who?" Sam asked quietly. "To everyone, to the whole family." Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Mom, you have 9 children, but only 2 of them seem to have control now. That doesn't feel right, does it?" "It feels right to me," Mama said. Her voice was soft but firm. "Grace and Sam are protecting me. The rest of you were taken from me." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "Mama, that's not fair. We love you." "I know you do, baby, but love and money got all mixed up, and I can't tell them apart anymore." Marcus stood, smile finally dropping. "Mom, I'm going to be honest. Some of us are talking to lawyers about guardianship, about making sure you're being protected, not manipulated." "Is that a threat?" Sam stood too. "It's information." Marcus looked at me. "Grace, you came home after 25 years and immediately isolated our mother from her family. Legally speaking, that looks like elder abuse." "Legally speaking," I replied, "I have documentation of $92,000 in transfers, out of her account medical records showing severe malnutrition and testimony from her doctor that she's competent and made her decisions freely. What do you have? We have a mother who's clearly being influenced, Marcus's voice hardened, and a family that's not going to stand by while you steal her assets. Then don't stand by, Sam said. Do whatever you think you need to do. But know this, we're ready. We've been ready. Marcus and Patricia left, taking their food with them. After they were gone, Mama started crying. They think I'm weak. They think I can't make my own decisions. No, I said, holding her. They think you can manipulate you. There's a difference. And tonight you proved them wrong.
What we didn't know, what we couldn't have known, was that while we were cleaning up dinner, 6 of my siblings were gathering at James's house 15 minutes away. I learned this later from Marcus Jr., Marcus's good son, the one who'd warned Sam before. He was upstairs doing homework when he heard voices rising from the living room below. He listened. And then he called Sam. This is what he told us he heard. James, standing like a general addressing troops, told them Grace had crossed a line. Said I'd manipulated Mama into signing over everything. The house, accounts, medical decisions. Esther asked if it was legal. James said yes, that power of attorney had already been filed with the county clerk. Sarah, still furious from the Kroger humiliation, wanted revenge. James told her she was stupid, that her public scene made her look unstable. Then James laid out his plan. File for guardianship. Claim Mama was mentally incompetent. Didn't matter if she was or wasn't. They just needed to create doubt. A judge would order an independent evaluation. During that process, all Mama's assets would be frozen. No one, including me, could touch them. How long? Marcus had asked. Months, maybe a year. And I filed to be her guardian. As oldest son, I have the strongest claim. Esther called him out then. Said it wasn't about protecting Mama. It was about getting access to her money again. James didn't deny it. He admitted he still owed Richard Harlow $31,000. Said Harlow had given him 30 days to pay. That was a week ago. What happens in 23 days, Sarah asked. Nothing good, James replied. Then came the part that made my blood run cold. James told them he'd already hired a lawyer for the guardianship case. Richard Harlow. The loan shark was also his attorney. Patricia stood up then. Marcus Jr. said her voice was shaking. She said she couldn't be part of it. That Mama had been starving. 98 pounds. Eating from dumpsters.
Sam's phone buzzed during the evening news. He read the text, his face turning to stone. Grace, we have a problem. I read it, then read it again. Harlow is his lawyer? Sam called Marcus Jr., put him on speaker. The boy repeated everything he overheard. They were filing Monday morning, 2 days away. James planned to freeze Mama's assets, get him self-appointed guardian, then refinance the house to pay his gambling debts. I looked at Sam. Thomas Bennett, now. Sam was already dialing. Thomas answered on the second ring. I explained everything. The guardianship threat, Harlow, the 48-hour timeline. Okay, Thomas said, and I could hear him moving, papers rustling. First thing tomorrow morning, we file a protective order. Your mother formally requests the court deny any guardianship petitions from James. We attach Dr. Chen's evaluation showing competency. We attach bank records showing exploitation. We attach the power of attorney showing she made these decisions freely. Will that stop them? It'll make it much harder. But Grace, Sam, this is about to get ugly. They're going to attack your mother's mental state. They're going to attack your motives. They might attack your past. My past, the secret I'd been running from for 25 years. Let 'em, I said. We're not backing down. Good. Protective order ready by 9 a.m. Meet me at the courthouse. After we hung up, I sat with Mama in the quiet living room. They're coming for you, Mama. Legally, they're going to try to take control. She was quiet for a long moment. Will they win? Not if I can help it. Grace, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said 25 years ago. My heart stopped. Mama, I know about the baby, about Chicago, about why you really left. The world tilted. How? James told me. Years ago. He was drunk, angry about something. He said, "At least I'm not the one who abandoned a baby." And then he told me everything. Tears streamed down my face. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was waiting for you to tell me. And when you didn't, I figured you had your reasons. But Grace, she took my hands. I never judged you. I never stopped loving you, and I never believed you abandoned anyone. I know my daughter. I know your heart. I collapsed into her arms, 25 years of shame pouring out. I gave him up because I wanted him to have better than I could give. I was so scared, Mama, so alone. You weren't alone. You just thought you were. And that's my fault. I let James make you feel that way. We held each other, both crying, both finally free of secrets. Whatever happens tomorrow, Mama, whatever they say, whatever they try, we face it together. No more secrets, no more shame, just truth. Just truth, I agreed.
That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the porch in the dark and Sam joined me. "You ready for tomorrow?" he asked. "No, but I'm going anyway." That's all courage is, doing it scared. "Sam, if they bring up Chicago, if they try to use my past against me, then we'll deal with it, together." I looked at my brother, this man who'd fought in wars, who'd come home to fight a different kind of battle. "Why are you doing this, really? You could have stayed out of it." "Because Mama's worth fighting for, and because," he paused, "because I'm tired of watching good people get destroyed by people who only know how to take." We sat in silence, waiting for dawn, waiting for the war to truly begin. Monday morning arrived too fast. Thomas met us at the Fulton County Courthouse at 8:45 a.m. He carried a briefcase thick with documentation, bank records, medical evaluations, witness statements, everything we'd compiled over the past 48 hours. "They beat us here," Thomas said, nodding toward the courthouse steps. James stood with a tall white man in an expensive suit, Richard Harlow. Even from a distance, I could see Harlow was everything I'd expected. Slicked back hair, Rolex watch catching the morning sun, the kind of smile that never reached the eyes. A predator in a tie. Sarah, Marcus, David, and Esther stood behind them. Patricia and Ruth were notably absent. James saw us. Our eyes met across the plaza. He said something to Harlow, who turned and assessed us the way a shark assesses prey. "Stay close to me," Thomas murmured. "Don't engage. Let them make the first move." We walked up the steps. James stepped into our path. "Grace, Sam, Mama." His voice was cold. "Last chance to make this right. Drop the power of attorney. Restore the accounts. We can forget this whole thing." "No," Mama said. Her voice was small but steady. James's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're doing, Mama. These people," he gestured at me and Sam, "they're manipulating you, isolating you from your family." My family isolated me a long time ago, when they chose money over my life. Harlow stepped forward, extending his hand to Mama. She didn't take it. "Mrs. Johnson, I'm Richard Harlow, attorney at law. I represent your son James and several of your other children who are deeply concerned about your welfare. We're here today because we believe you may not fully understand the documents you signed." "I understand perfectly." "With respect, ma'am, that's for a judge to determine." Harlow's smile was patronizing.
We filed a petition for emergency guardianship evaluation. The court will appoint an independent psychiatrist to assess your mental capacity. Until that evaluation is complete, all financial decisions are frozen. Not unless the court orders it, Thomas said evenly. And it won't, given Dr. Chen's competency certification and the exploitation evidence before you. Not if our protective order is granted first, Thomas added smoothly, which it will be, since we have medical documentation from Mrs. Johnson's physician of 15 years certifying her competence. Harlow's eyes flicked to Thomas, reassessing. Thomas Bennett, I've heard of you, elder law specialist. You've built quite a reputation. As have you, Mr. Harlow, though yours is more diversified. The two lawyers stared at each other like gunslingers. Shall we let the judge decide? Harlow said. Let's.
Judge Patricia Williams's courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Oak paneling, Georgia state seal on the wall, fluorescent lights that flickered occasionally. Judge Williams herself was a black woman in her 60s, reading glasses perched on her nose, expression revealing nothing. We sat on one side, Mama, Sam, and Thomas, and me. On the other side, James, Harlow, Sarah, Marcus, David, and Esther. This is a preliminary hearing, Judge Williams began, regarding competing petitions. Mr. Harlow, you filed for emergency guardianship evaluation of Dorothy Mae Johnson. Mr. Bennett, you filed a protective order requesting the court deny said petition. I'll hear arguments from both sides. Mr. Harlow, you filed first. Begin. Harlow stood, buttoning his suit jacket. He was good, I had to admit that. His voice was measured, concerned, persuasive. Your Honor, we're here because a family is in crisis. Dorothy Johnson, 85 years old, recently widowed, has been subject to undue influence by 2 of her 9 children. Within days of their arrival, Mrs. Johnson signed over complete financial and medical control via power of attorney. Her bank accounts were closed and reopened at different institutions. The deed to her home, her primary asset, was transferred out of her name. All of this happened in less than a week, Your Honor. That's not careful estate planning, that's exploitation. He pulled out documents, handing copies to the judge and to Thomas. Mrs. Johnson's other children, 6 of them, representing the majority of her family, are deeply concerned. They report that Mrs. Johnson has been isolated from family contact, phone calls go unanswered, visits are discouraged. The respondent, Grace Johnson, has inserted herself as gatekeeper, controlling who can and cannot see her own mother. I felt Mama's hand grip mine under the table. Harlow continued, We're not claiming Mrs. Johnson is incompetent, Your Honor. We're simply asking for an independent evaluation to ensure these decisions were made freely, without coercion or manipulation. Surely Mrs. Johnson, if she is indeed competent, would welcome the opportunity to demonstrate that. He sat down, satisfied. Judge Williams turned to Thomas. Mr. Bennett. Thomas stood in his opening was quieter but more powerful. Your Honor, I've practiced elder law for 23 years. I've seen real exploitation. I've seen real abuse. I've prosecuted family members who drained elderly parents dry. And Your Honor, this case is textbook, but not in the way Mr. Harlow claims. He approached the bench with his briefcase. May I present evidence? Please. Thomas laid out bank statements, medical records, photographs. He spoke as he arranged them. Dorothy Johnson's husband died 3 years ago. Within days of his husband, the eldest son, James, Mr. Harlow's client, had himself added as co-signer on her checking account. Then he set up automatic transfers totaling $3,300 per month from an account that received $2,800 in pension income. Your Honor, she was giving away more than she received every single month for 3 years. Judge Williams leaned forward, examining the documents.
The result? Thomas continued. Mrs. Johnson lost 43 pounds. She weighed 98 pounds when her daughter Grace found her. She was eating expired food from charity. Her home, paid off by her husband after 47 years of railroad work, was facing foreclosure because Mr. James Johnson had convinced her to sign a $50,000 home equity loan, which he used to pay gambling debts to. Thomas paused meaningfully. His current attorney, Mr. Richard Harlow. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Harlow's expression didn't change, but James shifted uncomfortably. Conflict of interest didn't begin to cover it. Your Honor, Grace Johnson didn't manipulate her mother. She saved her mother's life. And every document Mrs. Johnson signed was witnessed by her physician of 15 years, Dr. William Chen, who certified her mental competence. I have his evaluation here. I also have his medical records showing severe malnutrition consistent with prolonged starvation. He handed everything to the judge. The real question, Your Honor, isn't whether Mrs. Johnson is competent. It's whether this court will allow the very people who nearly killed her through financial exploitation to regain control under the guise of concern. Thomas sat down. Judge Williams was quiet for a long moment, reading through documents. Mr. Harlow, were you aware that your client owes you money, and that you're now representing him in a case where he seeks control of assets that could repay you? Your Honor, that's a separate business matter. It's a conflict of interest, Counselor. A blatant one. She turned to James. Mr. Johnson, stand please. James stood. You owe Mr. Harlow money. Yes, Your Honor, a personal loan, but that has nothing to do with... It has everything to do with your motivation for seeking guardianship. Sit down. She turned to Mama. Mrs. Johnson, I'd like to hear from you directly. Do you understand that you signed power of attorney documents giving your daughter Grace control over your finances and medical decisions? Mama stood, and I was proud of how steady she looked. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. Did anyone force you to sign those documents? No, ma'am. Did anyone threaten you or coerce you? No, ma'am. Grace saved my life. I was starving. I was giving all my money to my other children, and I didn't know how to stop. Grace stopped it for me. Why couldn't you stop it yourself? Mama's voice broke. Because I'm their mother, and mothers don't say no. At least, I didn't know how. Grace taught me that it's okay to choose myself, to survive. Mrs. Johnson, do you want these power of attorney documents to remain in effect? Yes, Your Honor. I trust Grace and Sam. I don't trust... She looked at James. I don't trust my other children with money anymore. Judge Williams made notes. I'm going to allow testimony. Mr. Harlow, do you have witnesses? Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Sarah Mitchell. Sarah took the stand, was sworn in. Harlow approached her gently. Miss Mitchell, you're Mrs. Johnson's daughter. Yes, her second oldest child. How would you describe your relationship with your mother before Grace returned? We were close. I visited her weekly. We talked on the phone every day. She helped me with my grandchildren. And after Grace returned, she cut me off, won't return my calls. Grace has poisoned her against me. Why do you think Grace came back after 25 years? Sarah's eyes gleamed. For the money. She saw an opportunity. Mama's vulnerable, recently widowed. Grace swooped in, isolated her, and took control of everything.
Thomas stood for cross-examination. Miss Mitchell, you testify you were close with your mother. How much money did you receive from her in the past 3 years? Sarah hesitated. She helped me sometimes with expenses. How much, Miss Mitchell? I don't know exactly. $21,600. Does that sound right? Sarah paled. And during those 3 years when you were visiting weekly, did you notice your mother had lost 40 pounds? She said she was on a diet. Did you notice she was eating expired food? I didn't see that. Did you ever bring her groceries, Miss Mitchell? Or did you only come when you needed money? That's not fair. Answer the question. Silence. No further questions. Sarah left the stand, face flushed with shame. Thomas called Dr. William Chen. Dr. Chen was a dignified Chinese-American man in his 60s, wearing a white coat with his hospital credentials. His testimony was clinical and devastating. I've been Mrs. Johnson's primary physician for 15 years. When Grace contacted me 3 weeks ago requesting an evaluation, I was shocked by what I found. Mrs. Johnson's BMI was 16.8, clinical starvation territory. She had severe vitamin deficiencies, anemia, and showed signs of cognitive impairment due to malnutrition, not dementia. Can malnutrition cause cognitive symptoms? Absolutely. The brain needs glucose to function. Prolonged starvation causes confusion, memory problems, difficulty concentrating. But these symptoms reverse with proper nutrition. I evaluated Mrs. Johnson again after 2 weeks of adequate food. Her cognitive function improved dramatically. Her MMSE score went from 24 to 28, well within normal range. In your medical opinion, is Mrs. Johnson mentally competent to make her own decisions? Yes, completely. She understands her financial situation. She understands the documents she signed. She made these decisions freely and with full capacity. Harlow's cross-examination was brief and ineffective. Dr. Chen's credentials and long relationship with Mama were unassailable. Then Thomas did something unexpected. Your Honor, I'd like to call Grace Johnson to testify. My heart stopped. We hadn't discussed this. I took the stand, was sworn in. My hands were shaking. Thomas approached gently. Grace, why did you leave Atlanta 25 years ago?
The question hung in the air. I saw James lean forward. My voice cracked. I was pregnant, unmarried. The father was not available. I was ashamed. What happened to the baby? I gave him up for adoption, closed adoption. I don't know where he is or who raised him. Why are you telling us this? Tears streamed down my face. Because I know what James is going to use against me. He's known for 25 years. He's used it to control me, to keep me away, to make me feel like I didn't deserve to be part of this family. But I'm done being ashamed. I made the best choice I could at the time. I gave my son a chance at a better life. And now I'm giving my mother the same chance, a chance to live, not just survive. I looked directly at James. You can't blackmail me anymore. Judge Williams was quiet for a moment. Mr. Harlow, do you have questions for this witness? Harlow stood, but I could see he'd lost his ammunition. The secret he'd planned to weaponize was already out. No questions, Your Honor. Judge Williams took a recess to review all evidence. 30 minutes that felt like hours. When she returned, her decision was swift. I've reviewed the evidence presented. The bank records clearly show systematic financial exploitation of Mrs. Johnson by multiple family members. The medical records showed the devastating physical consequences. Dr. Chen's evaluation demonstrates Mrs. Johnson is mentally competent. Mr. Harlow, your petition for guardianship evaluation is denied. Mrs. Johnson has the right to choose who manages her affairs. She has chosen her daughter Grace and her son Samuel. That choice will be honored. However, she added, turning to Mama, I'm ordering a follow-up evaluation in 6 months. Not because I doubt you, but because I want to ensure you remain safe and that this arrangement continues to serve your interests. This court finds no evidence of undue influence or manipulation by Grace or Samuel Johnson. The power of attorney stands. The protective order is granted. Mr. James Johnson and any co-petitioners are enjoined from filing further guardianship petitions without new material evidence of incompetence. We're adjourned. The gavel fell. Outside the courthouse, James confronted us one last time. "This isn't over, Grace." "Yes, it is." "You think you won? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Harlow isn't going to just forget I owe him money, and when he comes collecting, he won't care about court orders." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact. You stopped the legal route, but there are other ways to collect debts." Sam stepped between us. "James, if anything happens to Mama, to Grace, to this family, we know exactly who's responsible, and I promise you, there's nowhere you can hide from that." James's face twisted with rage, but he said nothing. He walked away, Harlow beside him, already arguing about next steps. That evening, Mama, Sam, and I sat in the kitchen that was finally safe, and the house that was finally secure. "We won," Mama said, like she couldn't quite believe it. "We won," I agreed, but I couldn't shake James' words. There are other ways to collect debts. The legal battle was over. The war, I knew, was not.
3 weeks later, a letter arrived at the house. No return address, just a folded piece of paper inside. Thomas opened it with us sitting at the kitchen table. It was short, tight, unsigned. James Johnson was found deceased last night in his car outside an abandoned lot on Auburn Avenue. Apparent overdose. Police investigating. Silence. Mama covered her mouth. Sam lowered his head. I just sat there, the words blurring on the page. No triumph, no relief, just an ending. Harlow's name wasn't mentioned in the report, but Thomas's eyes said everything. Someone decided the debt was paid, he said quietly. For a long time, no one spoke. Finally, Mama whispered, "Lord help him. He was my son. He lost his way, but he was still my son." And that broke me. Because even after everything he'd done, after starving her, threatening her, betraying her, Mama still found a way to pray for him. The days that followed were quiet. No more threats, no more letters. The house on Oakwood Drive began to breathe again. Thomas fixed the porch steps. I repainted the front door. Mama planted tomatoes in the backyard, the same way Daddy used to. She hummed while she worked. It wasn't denial. It was survival. Life insisting on continuing. One evening, as the sun dipped low and fireflies blinked over the grass, Mama sat beside me on the porch. "You know," she said softly, "for so long I thought love meant giving everything away. Turns out sometimes love means holding on to yourself." She smiled. "I'm still learning." "So am I," I said. She reached for my hand. "You came home, Grace. That's what saved us." Later that night, I stood in the doorway watching her sleep in her chair, peaceful. A woman who had been to hell and back and somehow found heaven in her own kitchen. I thought of Daddy's words in his journal. "Promise me you'll live your life, not sacrifice it for theirs." And I realized we had finally kept that promise. The debts were paid, the ghosts were gone, and for the first time in decades, the Johnson family home belonged only to love.